we're here back at E3. I promise you a QA directly from the community. I got Raphael directly from the dev team. He is actually the director of Space Marine, and we got your questions live here at E3. I got my handy little list. Hopefully you made it. But let's start it off. You know, if you want to go through the first question, we'll start with our Facebook entries first, and then we'll jump into our forum posters.
For sure. So we've got a question here from Nicholas Garcia. Thanks for your question, Nicholas. So, will the bolter rounds finally do what they're supposed to do and explode? I guarantee you, if you haven't seen any of the footage of Space Marine, go out there and check it out. If you're at E3, come and play the game. Our bolter rounds absolutely do what they're supposed to do. When they hit guys, you see that crazy explosion happening. You know, it's just like extremely visceral, violent. Like the amount of sort of blood and gore in the game is off the charts. So yeah, there's certainly, we're not pulling any punches in terms of the devastation from the weaponry, and you can expect the bolter is going to be really true to what you expect from the IP.
Yeah, and on that, we just released the Chaos Enemies trailer for E3. It's got a lot of heads exploding, body parts vaporizing. Yeah. You got to see it.
Yeah, it's not for kids.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, next from Adam Sorbello. Thanks for your question, Adam. So question, possibility of Dark Angels maybe. So, you know, we've been pretty clear when we've talked about Space Marine with the campaign that it's all about, you know, you play Captain Titus of the Ultramarines, you're you know, from the quintessential kind of Space Marine chapter, and so that's really the story that we're telling. You know, you've probably seen some of the announcements we've recently made about pre-order incentives and things with some of the other,
out there.
For sure, so some of the other Space Marine chapters and things are represented there, and then later on in the month I think we'll be talking a little bit more about some of that stuff. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so lots of possibilities there.
Yeah, make sure to get your pre-order at thq.com.
Absolutely.
You get Darksiders and you get the Power Sword for PC, so check it out.
So pre-order the game for sure. Next we got one from Azar Razilov. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Will there be Terminator armor in the game? You know, we've got a lot of stuff in Space Marine, a lot of stuff you've seen, a lot of stuff you haven't seen. I don't want to give everything away, but you know, there's a lot of different types of armor in the game that you'll be able to know more about as we move forward. So we're gonna probably just leave it at that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Next from Gage Edwards, will there be vehicles or jump packs, and will the Inquisition play any role in this game? It's like 3 questions in one.
I wanted to be fair. I think he actually posted like 9.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know.
So you can expect to see some of the like iconic 40K vehicles in the game. Jump packs, absolutely.
Jump pack
gameplay is
awesome.
really cool.
Awesome.
We showed some of that recently at our pre-E3 event in Santa Monica, so hopefully we'll be able to show you that stuff pretty soon. And then the Inquisition, you know, we've talked about the story of Space Marine, that there is a darker mystery going on in our Forge Wolf Raya setting. Pretty soon after you arrive to deal with the Orc threat, you start getting involved with a deeper conspiracy that involves the Inquisition, so you can absolutely, you know, be sure that they're involved with what's going on the planet, and that's a big part of the story of the game. John Hall asks, what company does Captain Titus command of the Ultramarines chapter, and will there be a drop pod?
You know, we've had a lot of questions on the forums about this, also on Facebook. I just want to know, does Space Marines tie into any story, you know, currently in the Warhammer 40K universe?
Yeah.
Is it unique?
You know, Space Marine is entirely unique. The story and all the characters were created specifically for our game. I mean, we're part of the canon. We work with Games Workshop really closely, obviously, to work within the the framework of the IP of the setting. But yeah, everything we've done in Space Marine, all the characters, the set. Well, actually, the setting of Forge Wolf Raya is part of the IP. But Captain Titus and all the major characters in the story are new creations for Space Marine, and you know, we're hopeful that they'll get integrated into the IP later on. William McKenzie asked, what is the Chaos Legion attacking the Forge World, and why did you pick that specific Legion? You know, we've got Chaos Undivided, which is kind of like a combination of a bunch of different guys, and you know, we didn't focus too much on the specific Chaos Legions we've got. What we did was we picked you know, the types of enemies that we thought would make the most interesting gameplay experience for the player, and so that's why you see like Bloodletters in there, you see you know, the Psyker, you see the Renegades, you see Chaos Space Marines of all kinds of different types. You know, so and stuff that we haven't even shown you yet. So
yeah, plus the sneak peek of the chapter packs that you get from pre-ordering as well. You've seen a couple of those chapters as well.
Absolutely. So Daniel Cook asks, what will the release date be the same worldwide? That's a good question. You know, we don't really have control necessarily of exactly the dates that all the games come out. It's kind of like every territory has the sort of the day that their games always come out on. So they should all be within the same window, roughly speaking. But whether it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I don't really know exactly what that is.
So it's September 6th for US, and most likely other territories will be following that date or, you know, within that week. So I mean, we're trying to get everyone in Space Marine as soon as we can when it launches. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jay Bradley White asks, is the story in the game any part of the 40k history? Previews are quoting that Captain Titus is captain of the second company of Ultramarine. So this has already sort of addressed this.
Yeah.
You know, we're, you know, as I said, we're building an entire new fiction for Space Marine within Warhammer 40,000, the IP itself. And you know, so then you're going to get to experience a fresh story that feels right at home with all the other kind of epic stories that you've become accustomed to in Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah. Now jump into a lot of the forum questions. So the questions that we went through so far, we covered our Facebook bases. I know there was a lot of multiplayer questions. Unfortunately, we're not getting into details around multiplayer at E3, but stay tuned. We got a lot of multiplayer stuff coming. We don't want to leave you guys out in the dry, so stay tuned. But let's jump into our forum questions. A lot of these dive straight into the game and kind of story, so let's jump right into that.
For sure. So we got a question from Brennan here. When you were looking at the story for the game, did you go through a lot of different options before landing on the Forge World one? You know, we did. We talked a lot about different settings for Space Marine, and ultimately we chose the Forge World because we felt like it was going to give us the best opportunity that we could have for delivering the kind of epic blockbuster experience that we wanted to deliver. And you know, pretty early on, we settled on some of the key elements, like the Titan was a big part of what's going on in the story, and it's such a fundamental part of Space Marine that it really almost needed to happen on the Forge World. And then within the Forge World, we knew that we'd have all the sort of rich variety of the types of settings that we wanted to put the players in. So it really just felt like kind of a no-brainer after a while. It just seemed like the perfect iconic setting for Warhammer 40,000. I've got a question here from Ofortuna109. One of the previous mentioned that the player could smash through an enemy's cover. If this is indeed the case, I was wondering just how much of the environments would be destructible. You know, as much of the environments are destructible as makes sense for gameplay. Really, that's what it comes down to. So, you know, there's pieces of cover and things in the environment as you're fighting that you can bust through. And you know, it's really all in service to the gameplay experience, not gratuitous destruction. Really kind of focused on how it makes the gameplay feel better.
Yeah, secretly, I mean, I've been playing the game a lot in the office. You know, sorry you guys can't play it yet, but it's very satisfying. You're gonna love it.
Excuse me. Mr. Peanut asks, are Titus's companions the only other Space Marines we will have interactions with? You know, really the core story of Space Marine really does revolve around the interplay between Captain Titus and his trusted, Ultramarines, Sergeant Sidonis and the rookie Leandros. And really, a lot of what we're doing in the storytelling in Space Marine does have to do with that sort of the interplay between those characters and kind of the different points of view between Captain Titus and his. So we have a question from Imperial Dane here. How will the environments be static and lifeless, or more dynamic with things going on in the background and things falling off and exploding in the heat of battle? Well, if you've seen any of Space Marine footage, you know that we're giving you like crazy, devastating weaponry, and surrounding with tons of enemies. And you can imagine as you're firing all over the place and using all this crazy weaponry, there's going to be lots of destruction in the environment that comes from that. You're going to see lots of dynamic elements in the environment. We have these huge, epic, environments that are inspired by that, very specific Gothic aesthetic that Warhammer 40,000 has. So you can expect to see, big banners and moving machines and things like that, kind of fill in the life, and then obviously all the background ambient activity that you would expect on a planet that's just been invaded by like 1 million orcs. So yeah, the world is not a lifeless husk. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Dark Revenger asks, will people who have never heard of anything in the Warhammer 40,000 universe be able to keep track of what is going on in the story? That's a great question, and it's something that we've paid a lot of attention to. So, in our focus with creating Space Marine has always been to create this action blockbuster experience within Warhammer 40,000 and bring it to a whole new audience of people to show them how really cool it is, but then always to stay true to the IP and show the fans, how much passion and love we have for this IP. Keep in mind, we've worked with Warhammer 40,000 for 7 or 8 years now with the Dawn of War series. So we've got a great collaboration with Games Workshop. We've been working with them for a really long time. There's a really good relationship of trust there, which is a big part of the reason why we're able to make Space Marine, really. So yeah, I mean, it's really a game that's been created to be accessible to people who don't really know anything about Warhammer 40,000. So if you like action blockbuster games, if you like science fiction, you look at Space Marine, you're going to find something to really love in there. And then if you're a fan of 40K and you know it, you're going to notice all the attention to detail that we've put into the world, the way the characters talk, lots of little things that we've left in the world specifically for the fans to kind of pick up on. So it's really, we've tried to find that balance, and so far the feedback that we've had has been really successful. So the last question is from Kabamaru. Will we be able to participate in a Titan battle? Well, I don't want to give anything away, but you can be sure we wouldn't put a giant Titan in the game without letting you do something with it. So you're going to draw your own conclusions there.
Yeah, we'll let you go from there. Hey, but thanks for joining us here at E3. We'll get back with you more questions further down the line. Make sure to keep them coming to the forums. Actually, Raphael's going to be joining us on the forums. So keep your questions coming. Hit me up, THQ Sledgehammer, and we'll get it going. Stay tuned for more coverage at E3, and we thanks for joining us.